then you write a script that pastes them along the thing in a particular pattern, and it's randomized every time, so it's slightly different every time.
Yep.
In order to like maybe to add to like the creepiness or weirdness, because it's like, have I been here before? Is this the same thing?
That's kind of what's my thought
um
with it, with adding to the, yeah, like you said, the vibe.
yeah. Yep. So this so you could do something like that, but
Okay.
the downside to that is
You
it's
have
code.
control. It's code. Okay. Yep.
So you can't physically see it. It's like a lot of this like, I can't manipulate this tree. Oh, I want this tree a little bit to the left. Now you can't really do that because
Okay.
it's a procedural. You can modify the code to kind of get that effect sometimes, but like you don't get manual control over exactly where it's positioned.
Okay.
And if it doesn't matter, like an example of this is particle systems. The
Yep.
particle system looks really cool, but hypothetically, right? If you create this particle system with random spawning particles, it just it not that because you've dialed in the settings pretty well, like it's not going to happen really. But imagine that the particles, it just spawns 3 particles or 4 particles on top of each other in the same direction at the same size at everything,
Yep.
and it just so happens that the particle system at a critical moment of the game spawns 5 particles that completely obscure the
Yeah.
boss.
Okay. Okay.
Right? You're like, you've created a set of rules that work 99% of the time, but you don't get perfect control. It could just
Okay.
happen to be that this particle system kind of interrupts a thing if you really like, and that's nitpicking, like, oh, that
Yeah.
particle moved across the screen the wrong way, right? But you can't control that with a particle system like that because it is procedural. It
Okay.
is using a random seed to generate a bunch of things, and you can set parameters, but you can't control it. And the benefits are you can get more depth, right? You can generate a lot more things, a lot more varied things, use more different tree assets. Um, you can make the depth a lot easier, right? So you can have like 3 layers or 4 layers of trees a lot easier
Yep.
because it's just an algorithm. It's make this layer this scale and move it 10 units back,
Right.
then make the next one 5, then make the next one 7, then make the next one 9, and move it another 10 units back, and you do that procedurally, and you don't have to worry about it, but you don't get that full fine-tuned control.
So,
It's a trade-off of fine-tuned control versus unique generation stuff.
right. So if we have this particle system that we created, there's no way
Mhm.
to take that and like copy and paste it into the code, and then it generates that way. It's like a separate thing. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
so uh, not 100% sure.
It's like, you know how we actually, this is not technically the same as an asset, right?
Technically, kind of. It is. It is. Well, it,
So you know how you could
the
take the
the term
tree,
asset.
you could take the tree and just do whatever with it in the coding of the randomness. You can't do the same thing with this particle system we made.
Yeah, you can.
So
Like,
wouldn't that
there's
solve?
all of the things in here are accessible via code.
So what
Oh,
makes it that that other code doesn't generate right if you just have it all generate like this? You get what I'm saying?
not particularly.
So like so if we were doing generated, you take your individual trees, it puts it all together, right?
Mhm.
And then it just keeps putting in trees.
Yep.
I'm assuming that's taking our tree asset and just randomizing
Mhm.
it in the code, right?
Yep.
So why can't it take our already made particle asset here and just keep pasting it along as we already have it?
Oh, I mean, I think I get what you're saying. Like,
instead of it just re-randomizing a system, it just keeps pushing it.
Well, I mean, I think that's what it would probably do.
So then you wouldn't have to worry about clusters of fog obscuring the enemy, right?
So I guess I'm the key that I'm getting at is that, let's say I'm trying to describe it in a way that's so incredibly unlikely to happen, but it is possible because of randomness, right? It's the Library of Babel problem. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a website that's basically like it's a big like 1024 by 1024 grid of pixels, and every time you load the website, it generates an entirely random 1024 by 1024 image. And most of the time it looks like random noise. You go to the website and it looks like actual noise. But hypothetically, due to randomness, that picture contains every possible 1024 by 1024 picture in existence, right? It's the monkeys typing on a typewriter.
I was gonna say the Shakespeare monkeys. Yeah.
The Shakespeare problem.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, hypothetically, it could, produce a particle that drifts across the screen while something important is happening, and you're like, and that would happen 1 out of 10 billion times, and it wouldn't happen every time because it's random.
So even though we already have these parameters that keep it confined in its own space, we can't just kind of, like, I'm kind of thinking.
No. It'll always exist within the parameters. It will always exist but notice how there's that one particle that's like floating up away into the tree.
Yep.
That is part of our parameters. It is still within our parameters that it can do that.
Okay, I gotcha. Right? Okay.
I just don't know when that's going to happen. That particle, I can't predict when a random particle is going to go really high up into the sky, right?
So we can't change our parameters.
And as long as it's fine that it does that in most cases, then that's what it is, right? It's not that it's going to go outside the parameters. It's that you're defining the parameters in terms of draw 1,000 trees right next to each other with some subtle randomness in their left-right positioning. Okay. And what could happen is, if you set the parameters up in this particular way, 2 of the trees could be really close to each other, right? If you set the parameter, it may not always happen, but like if the parameters are set in a particular way, maybe you set it up where it could happen, or right, you're not accounting for every possible outcome ever in existence, right? You could also get a situation where you're like, I want some little variance between all the things, and it RNGs into the trees being perfectly uniform, and it doesn't have any randomness.
Right. Okay.
Right. You try to add like little variance, like lots of options, because the more options you add, the less likely that's going to happen.
Right.
But it could happen. It's not that it's going to, but it's not an impossibility. And as long as the parameters are set in a way that it's still acceptable if it were to happen, then fine. Then that's what like, again, the thing with it is basically, do you have perfect control? If you had perfect control in a video game, this is the other thing. If you had perfect control in a video game, it would be a movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Perfect control is every single frame of the experience would be exactly identical every time.
Right, yeah.
But you can't because the player does things. The
Yep.
player moves. The player can choose to stand in the same spot for 10 hours.
Right, okay.
So it's like you create the parameters of this is how the player can move, this is how the player can interact with the environment, and hope that they don't figure out how to backwards long jump up a set of stairs and clip through the door, right?
That's how we get speedrunning.
That's how we get speedrunning.
Gotcha, okay.
Right? You come up with all the possible cases that you can think of and then go, this is what it should do most of the time. And then somebody either finds that or it just so happens that 1 out of a billion times it does a thing that you didn't expect it to do. And you're like, okay. You know?
Okay.
Or like an existential thing happens, like a random, particle from, alpha particle from the sun or whatever penetrates through your house into your computer, into your CPU, into your RAM, and flips a 1 to a 0, and now the whole thing crashes. Like, possible? Yes. What was it? There was that one Mario thing that was like the guy like up clipped through like the floor, and they have not been able to figure out how to replicate it. Besides, like, they have figured out how to replicate it, and it literally is you have to like go into the RAM and like flip a collision bit.
Oh my god!
Like manually, as if like a cosmic particle flipped a random bit on your CPU.
Yeah.
And doing that causes you to like up clip through the floor in like a certain level of Mario. But if they could replicate it, it would be a huge skip. Yeah. But it only happened one time to one guy.
I've never heard of that. I'd have to look that up. That's wild.
Oh, it's so funny. It was a TikTok clock, the level with the inside the clock with all the gears and stuff.
Oh my
god. There's those meshes that where like you can hang from them and like move.
Yeah.
And it's like that, and there's some kind of bit that gets flipped that makes the game think that you're grabbing the ceiling. And so it warps you up so that you're inside. Like, it's weird. It's it's a glitch for sure.
Yeah.
But like they were hunting for that forever, and they're like, no one can replicate this exact situation on any hardware, any emulator. It's like, what? Yeah. How did you do that? The guy's like, I don't know how I did that either.
Oh my god. That's wild.
So funny. But yeah, so like you set up the parameters, and like maybe it does that, right? It just so happens to do something that like fits within the parameters, but is not ideal.
Yeah.
And you don't get full control, but it gets you most of the way there. Like triple nines, quadruple 9 tier, like 99.9999%
yeah.
of the time. So yeah, we could do that with the trees. We could make it so that they like they spawn like through an algorithm, and that would allow you to have more tree variants.
Okay.
And that would be kind of cool.
So we could do the trees, but leave everything else. Like the trees would be.
Yep, you leave everything else.
Okay, that might be an option.
Things that like decorations are always like something that's definitely something you can do that with. Okay. Trees, I was thinking like another thing where you have like some repetition is like the bushes or the plants that like appear in front of the player, like the foreground.
Yep.
You could hypothetically generate those. They're not they're not gameplay oriented things, so they're like. This is another reason why like the fog is not really that big of a deal to be random, because it's nice that it looks random and it's not gameplay oriented, so we're not relying on it to be consistent.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
If 2 trees are too close to each other, or like it spawns 2 flowers right next to the same flower right next to each other, does that matter? Not really.
Yeah.
Most people won't notice.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Unless it's egregious, in which case then you've totally messed up your algorithm. Spawns the same tree 16 times in a row. It's like, that looks weird.
Sus.
the entire level is just the same one flower.
Which
And
is
it's like,
possible.
huh, which is
It's
possible.
possible. Okay.
Unlikely, but possible.